Fear and greed run through the wire. Candles climb and then expire. Our edges cut from the profile, sharp and clean by every buyer. He conquers the markets, he turns water into wine. His timing flows where chaos turns divine. Cut sharp enough to time the sign. Yeah, this man's no common trader. He commands the market's numbers. We call him Chef Bailey. The market bends beneath his flame. Fear and greed run through the wire. Candles climb and then expire. Our edges cut from the profile, sharp and clean by every buyer. Markets move, they twist and swing. Every tick can burn or blink. Ryan keeps calm, he trusts his thing. The charts tell him everything. But when T1 makes ding, 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 the futures spread their hidden wing. And he is ready for anything. Vic's still looking like a restless king.
Ready to stop guessing and start growing as a trader. Welcome to Vici Trading Solutions, a community built by real traders for serious learners. We don't just post trades, we teach the why behind every move. With a full education section and daily breakdowns, you'll start seeing the market like a pro. You won't be trading alone. Inside the Vici Discord, you're surrounded by committed traders, from futures pros to rising crypto specialists, all learning and winning together. Gain first access to our exclusive indicators, powerful tools used daily by hundreds across TradingView and beyond. These aren't gimmicks, they're built to sharpen your edge. Each morning, our founder posts a full trading plan for the S&P 500 or NASDAQ and calls out the levels he's watching live. No fluff, just clarity. Education, tools, community. Whether you trade futures, stock, or crypto, Vici gives you the foundation and firepower to grow. Join Vici, trade smarter, conquer the markets.
Well, hello. We got a full house today. My gracious, there's a ton of people in here. Welcome, everyone. I'd give everyone a shout out, but it would take me the whole 30 minutes to do so. So I won't do that, but thank you all for showing up. Big power. What's up, Raj? Good to see you guys. And so listen, you know what this is, right? This is the Trump dance, right? With so much winning. The plan today was incredible. I mean, I'll tell you what, talk about volatility. They shook us up today. I mean, we ended up getting our whole days worth of range in literally the first hour. It was absolutely insane. We had that CPI pump right off the rip, and my, oh my, did they flush on everyone. And, you know, if it wasn't for the plans, we would be in some serious trouble. But that is the whole point of doing our research ahead of time, planning it out the night before or even in the morning, so we know exactly what to expect, because we got to flow like water, right? Like Bruce Lee said, things change, you got to flow. And today was certainly that day. We started out at the lows. They pumped us up like 50, 60 points on CPI this morning, and then they flushed on everybody. It was just absolutely insane. And I'll admit, they got me this morning. I was a little shocked, actually, at what happened, but we'll get into it. So before I do that, as usual, we're going to go ahead and do the number like we always do here. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Hang on one second here. Stop that. Let me pull this up. I had the wrong thing here. So guys, as usual, please make sure you follow me across all the socials. You know the number. It is Ryan Bailey Edge across YouTube, TradingView, Substack, and X. I post a lot on X and especially on Substack because that's where my homies are. Look at all the people in Substack right now. We have, man, this is a fantastic crowd. I appreciate everyone showing up, and lots of subscribers in here. I'm sure everybody's like, damn, Ryan, we got to hear what this is about. So we're going to get into it. But first, for those of you guys who are not subscribing, definitely follow me across these socials. This is where it's at. I'm constantly giving the lowdown on exactly what happens. And everything played once again so perfect. We had the highs, we had the lows, and everything in between. And we're going to get into it right now. So let's just kick it off as usual with the pre-market context. And, like I said, flow like water, right? So here we go. So check this out. On today's note, as usual, I always start the day with a little notes for you guys and tell you, hey, here's what the news is. Here's the relative volume. And we have talked about how to do these market expectations or expected moves multiple times, but there's a lot of people on here and I wanted to show how perfect this is. And again, guys, this is just simple math, right? So that's what this whole game is about, probabilities and math. So let me show you how this works. We had an expected range of 110 points to start out the morning. We moved 33 points in the overnight session, leaving approximately 50 to 60 points left in the tank. And why did I say 50 or 60 points? Well, I took the 110, and because we had negative relative volume of 33%, we basically took 30% off of that. And I just did some rough math in my head while I was doing this. I'm like, roughly 50, 60 points, right? Well, let me show you this. As you can see, this arrow brings us down here. Look what our range was today. 80 points, right? And we moved 33 plus 50, cha-ching, 80 points, right? So boom, simple math. It worked out perfect. Anybody who was expecting that range, we ended up hitting it to the T. And so that was awesome. Another thing that we really want to focus on that I try to point out to you guys every single day is where we're at in terms of dealer hedging. So again, we came into the day with negative gamma again. They continuously put the negative gamma flip above all-time highs because dealers are not convinced that this market is bullish yet. And I'm not either. I was obviously been kind of bearish all week. And when I say bearish, I don't mean that we can't play the long side because we know that in negative gamma territory, money is made both directions. But obviously, when we're in negative gamma, we get a lot of volatility and we finally get some rotation. And my gracious, did we have it today. So once again, starting this off of the current market context, we know yesterday we had the massive 7,004 rejection, which we called to the tick. And we rode that down for 7 hours yesterday, making some serious money, right? And then we had our major barometer. This is the big level that's going to come into play. And I've been talking about 69, 64 for so long, guys. You guys know this was a massive short for us last week. It took us down 80 points, which then followed another 100 points the previous day. And it is still a big level. I mean, we actually closed below it today. So believe me when I tell you, I got my antennas up. They're going. I'm not convinced that we're going to go up, but you never know. We'll see where we open at tomorrow. But we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So here we go. Final thoughts. This was at the end of the trade plan because I always try to give a recap. I give so much information that sometimes guys lose track of what's going on. So hopefully these final thoughts will help you. But I tell you right here, like after we had the massive squeeze, and we had the smack from 7,004. I'm still very much leaning to the downside unless we can regain these dailies here. And a shift below the 69.64 pivot would be extremely bearish, and a push below our 69.38 4-hour leg would be curtains. Well, I won't spoil it, but I think you guys know exactly what played at the low today. It took a little bit of heat, a couple points. It wasn't exactly perfect, but it certainly held us up. And we used SPX as confluence, and it was a beautiful play. So I'm going to show all that for you guys. But I really wanted to point this out that we had massive red tag news in the morning. And as you guys know, I'm always expecting volatility when that happens. But given our current location, I was really cautious. And I wanted to put that out because I even made sure that I wrote this right down here for everybody. Just remember to flow like water with the information the market provides. Do not get stuck in a bias as things can shift very fast. And I put this out specifically, probably for myself more than you guys, but really just wanted to throw this out there because I was leaning very much to the downside. Did that happen today? Yes, but actually we got a ridiculous pump during CPI that's actually threw me off a little bit in the Discord room. I told everybody, actually, once we got that really solid close on the 4-hour, I told everybody, like, after this thing pulls back, we're going to be looking for some longs, right? Well, it didn't exactly work out that way, so we had to flow like water. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to get into that and show you exactly what we did to show where the pivot happened, and it all centers around the 69.64. So let's get into that right now. All right, so here you go. So we had this pre-market pump right out of the gate, and we rushed right into our big 69.95 level and the 69.89. Actually, this is a 30-minute chart, so you couldn't see it on this chart, but the 69.89 actually got a pretty nice reaction. And then they popped up and played 95, and they pulled back into the 89 or a little bit farther. But this was a big level for me. Obviously, because I don't trade pre-market, it was a moot point. So it didn't matter at that point in time. I know some guys in the room made some money off of these shorts, which was fantastic because I absolutely love it when I see my team win. But this was a really cool thing to see happen pre-market, because even CPI, even the massive amount of algo-driven news still can't fade our levels. Yes, it did push past this, but ultimately both of these levels paid and guys made money, and that is all I care about. So that was a big call out right there. So here we go with the pre-market. This was something that I threw out for everybody. And again, I even told everybody, like, man, that was a hell of a pump. We basically played the 7,004 yesterday, and then ultimately, we went right back up there. So I did have this in mind as we're up there. As you can see, this little yellow guy right here, this is like we're at 7,000. That was our current price. This is an RTH chart before the market actually opened. So this is what I was pointing out to everybody. I said, hey, just a note. I'm not saying we're going to go here. It's simply an observation, but the RTH gap fill is much, much lower, right? So this is all going to come into play as we, again, flow like water, right? Because at this point, once they popped up super heavy, I was low-key bullish, right? And so let's get right into it, and I'll show you what we did to kind of fix exactly how this was going to play. So this was a beautiful trade. Beautiful. Check this out. And there was guys in the room that were super short from up here. And I salute you guys. You know who you are. You were in the room. I know it was UTML. I'm going to go throw you out there. You are an absolute monster. There was a few other guys as well. I think Sco and some other guys. Oh, and Friends. Why can't I think of your name? He's my boy. Oh no, Francisco. Yes, I said it out loud. Yes, Francisco. He was bearish right from the jump. He didn't care about this, and I love it because these guys love the plan. They love what I put out, and they stick to it. Sometimes I swear to God, these guys trade my plan better than me. But here you go. So right here we had the high 7,004 to 7,009. This was the final daily we had up here that missed yesterday. So here was the touch yesterday. Here was the touch today. We had the actionable setup. If price pops up here, we want to see continuation immediately back below 7,004 for a push lower. And if that does it, it will come down lower. Now, we knew that if it went above that, we could make all-time highs. But as you can see, this thing flushed for 80 points. It was an absolute monster today. So with that being said, that was an amazing call out. We knew that we actually had that upper range up there. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my daily down so that you guys can see exactly how I generated this level. 7,004 is what played yesterday. And then they popped back up. And my guess is just, typical stuff. Besides playing the leg end or the leg tip, this was a big time liquidity sweep. Anybody who was still short from yesterday, they were resting up there. Their stops were up there. They just gangstered everybody, took them out. Flushed and went up there, grabbed everybody, and used that liquidity to just dump, which was absolutely just an insane player move from the market makers and whoever else was a part of that nonsense. So big props to those guys for juking everybody. So here was one thing that, again, I told everybody in the room, like, hey, listen, after we had this monster close, I'm like, maybe this isn't too bearish after all, right? Maybe we should actually, maybe take a long here or there. But with that being said, the first thing that we always do, or at least I always do, and I post it in the room, is I pull up my Edgeful charts, right? The Edgeful has this what's in play dashboard that I preach to you guys all the time. Listen, I don't shill products, right? But this is the product. If you are day trading, this whole game is about probabilities. And when you see ridiculous percentages like this, that you have an 84% chance to hit 69, 79. Look at all these short biases. Plus, they had their beautiful little daily overall bias up here, and it was leaning to the short side. So even though price had pumped up super crazy, we had all these amazing statistics that were over 70% saying that we were short. Now, we knew that we had gap fills much lower. I just didn't know exactly how low it would go. But I'll be damned if I'm ever going to fade some data that is 80% plus. I just refuse to do it because it would be a fool to do it. I mean, if anything, we talked about this many times. If anything is 80% plus, you got to take it in trading. So with that being said, myself, I'm like, okay, I still want to buy, but I want to buy the levels that we've pre-planned out. So I immediately get short once I saw this play up here, as you can see. And I started basically taking targets on the way down because, again, my bias kind of low-key changed, even though it shouldn't have, because we still never gained on the daily. But I got to tell you, they broke my ankles mentally today. They got me. Obviously, we switched, but I just wanted to show you how we always have to be prepared, and we just pivot. And this is how we pivot, and we use the data to our advantage. As you can see, we got underneath here. I started taking profits at 96, and then I got short again. Once that saw some continuation, we actually backed up and played 7,004 for the retest. And I just showed you here that I actually took it all the way down to 69.90 for a nice 14 points. So certainly was loving that. So between this, there was about 21 points to be had, and I was very happy with that. So as we're coming down, obviously I'm looking for stuff to buy because, I'm like, hey, that 4-hour close was a monster. So what did I do? Right? You're probably thinking, well, Ryan, obviously you're wrong. They fucking dumped on our ass. And I know that. It's okay. Right? But here's what we do, because we just got to be careful. Right? So when I wrote this, we had a significant pivot at 69.77. At the point in time in writing, this thing was major resistance. But the CPI news went way up. But just remember, like I tell you guys all the time, what is once formerly resistance is now support, and vice versa. So when we came back down into the 77, I'm looking to buy. And I even told everybody, I'm long 77 looking for VWAP if she holds. It's my first long so far. The last spot is the $70 handle. And in my opinion, and then I'm done buying. So again, I was looking for longs. I only had 2 spots, both from the plan. And I said right here, we will know if it was just a liquidity sweep through the highs and lost it again to smack the daily at 09. So here you go. I'm long off the 77. You can see my execution was 09, and I was looking to get the 88. So I wanted 9 points off of this, and we got it. We got it perfect. The other cool thing is we used Globex POC as confluence because we know that was the overnight point of control, which was fair value in the evening session, which gave me a little bit more confidence to take this trade. So long story short, needless to say, it went ahead and played. I put up 5 points risk to make 9 points, and I was super happy. So we had 20 plus points from the short, obviously another 9 points from the long. At this point, we've banked 30 points, and the morning just started. It was literally less than the first 15 minutes. Absolutely insane morning. As you can see, we just started dumping. And so now here's the next question. Ryan, did you take the long from 70? I absolutely did. And they did not stop. And I actually I got out early for a 4-point stop. So I gave a little bit back, and then we ended up coming down and essentially closing below our big number. Now, how do we pivot here? Well, let me show you this. So check this out. Boom. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. This was the key support zone. This was the 69.64. We've talked about this so many times. Again, I just talked about it before we even showed this slide. And this is going to continue to be important again tomorrow in tomorrow's plan. So here is how I played this. This was 69.64. Please, it says keep track of this level for above, below, and mark this on your chart. So once obviously the 70 didn't work, I'm sitting here waiting, right? And look at this 1 hour close. We had a 1 hour close beneath 69.64, and then they flushed it right down to our 38. Boom. I mean, they hit this entire range within the first hour. It was more like 45 minutes. This was just an insane flush. So this close right here with a 5-point stop allowed us to catch another 30 points to the downside. I will admit I didn't get the whole thing. I actually got out somewhere around 50 on the short. So again, another 14 points for me on that one, and just kind of waited to see what was going to happen, because at this point, everything was moving so fast. The volatility was insane. And again, at this, I'm sitting 30, 35, 40 points plus at this point. And so I'm just chilling. I'm like, okay, let's just relax and see what's going to happen. Okay. So that was some amazing stuff that happened. And I wanted to show you guys exactly how that played out. Now, I kind of got ahead of myself. And so we're going to just backtrack a little bit real quick before I show you the long, because we absolutely had the long. We not only pegged it on ES, but we showed how it worked in SPX, or I'm going to show you, but it was certainly in the trade plan as a level that you guys should have been watching. So one of the big kickers here, and I'll show you this, was our VIX pre-market. And this is another reason why they fooled me this morning. They freaking fooled me. Once they had that pump, they fooled me. So listen, this is what I showed in the trade plan right here. And as usual, right, the tailwind, if the 1744 pivot does not provide support and price moves below the 1690, right, and ultimately the 1651, we could have a massive tailwind for the indices, potentially pushing us to all-time highs. Well, check it out how it looked after the open. We are flushing below my levels, right? And so I'm looking at this like, okay. And that's really where part of where my upside bias came from initially. But again, I'm not trading VIX. I only use it as kind of a barometer to gauge where I'm at. So I wanted to show you, how my little mix up came in this morning, and how sometimes you just have to flow like water and, use patience in the process and the plan exactly the way it's supposed to. And so this is a great demonstration for you guys how, listen, sometimes you just got to change things up. It's not always the way that you think it is when you first get into it. And we're working on the fly. You know what I mean? This is why we have to exercise, good sleep, and meditation. This is the way you can perform the way you need to be when the market is moving. These things are so critical for you guys. I put out an amazing post today, actually, and we'll talk about that on the 6 disciplines of mindset so that you can get yourself correct every day. I do these things on a daily basis, and I actually spent a long time writing this post. I'll share it with you guys here really soon. So another thing that I wanted to show you guys that we called out, which this is where it's going to come into play here right now. Check this out. So I included the daily TPO. You guys know I'm a big TPO guy, right? And I showed you above this, we come up here, and down here, we go down here. So the whole reason that I'm showing you this is because, the market profile gives us a very good indication of inefficiencies in the market that need to be cleaned up. I don't point these things out for my health. These are literally magnets that you need to be paying attention to. So I circled this area up here. We could come up to 70.14 and clean this up, right? Look at this huge tail up here that never got cleaned up. Well, they started to get up here, right? But they didn't really get farther than the 04, and that was from the other day. So what was up with this area here? Well, I'm going to show you. The other spot was way lower down here at 26, and we almost got it today. Check this out. It's pretty wild. And this goes into our long, which I'm going to show you here right now. Look at that, how they went up and they cleaned that inefficiency up this morning. I mean, they basically poked their head up in there, which is good enough for me. I always draw it to precision, but as long as they get up in there and they clean half of that majority out, I am a pretty happy camper. And that's when they popped up and they basically flushed. And look how close we got to cleaning up this lower inefficiency. Again, another huge inefficiency down to the downside. But I'm sure most of you guys are looking at this saying, wow, look, there's another one here. You think I didn't notice? Trust me, that's going to come into play. I will figure out what to do with that tomorrow, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. So now let's get into the long. And this is pretty crazy. So as you know, and I'm just going to show you this, we're going to go back to the context because we want to pull it all together. This is where it really comes in together, right? So look at this. A shift below the 69.64 pivot would be extremely bearish. And a push below the 69.38 4-hour leg, in my opinion, would be curtains. Well, did we push below that leg? I don't think so. We actually held it. And I was pretty shocked that they did so, in my opinion. So check this out. Here's what we did. And I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. This is right from the trade plan. The last untested 4-hour at 69.38. We had the monthly point of control. Monthly point of control at 69.35. And I even told everybody, just right out, listen, this will more than likely provide a reaction. I want to see it get back above 46. So what do we do? Yes, they poked their head in here a little bit. Yes, it took 4 points of heat. Yes, it got super close to the VWAP, and it basically played the 35 monthly point of control. But immediately they got back above the 69.46, and that was your actionable setup to get long. You did not need to buy the 38. The whole idea of this was let the trade show you, especially when we have that kind of momentum coming to the downside. You let the trade show you. There's no reason to be impatient. If it's going to go, it's really going to go, right? And I even right here, this is one of the things I was preaching out to everybody right here. Today is not a day to guess. Stick to the plan. There is no need to rush or have FOMO. A trade will present itself. They always do. Because guys, please keep in mind one thing. I don't pick levels that we scalp, right? That is a huge deal. For all you guys watching this, please understand this very thoroughly when you're watching my plans, right? I pick the best of the best levels. And that's why sometimes there's a lot of in-betweens and you'll say, wow, these levels are kind of far apart. Well, why do you think that is? Because I don't play in the middle. We don't diddle in the middle. Our edge is in the edges, and that's exactly what we pick. We pick the highest probability areas for the biggest reactions, which means you do not need to get in right at the price point. There is going to be plenty of meat left in these moves as you just let them show themselves and you get in on the actionable trade plan side. And this is exactly how it's done. This is how pros do it. And this is exactly what I'm showing you how to do in the trade plans every single day. Be aware of these actionable setups. You know, we don't always need the top or bottom. These moves are paying 30, 40, 50, sometimes 80 points. Okay, so you didn't catch the exact top. You're in 4 or 5 points late. Big freaking deal, right? So this is how you pass prop firms. This is how you stay consistent. You don't need to stand in front of the train. You let the momentum slow down, you let it get back above the level, and you let it show you. And that is what I'm trying to teach everyone here. This is how you use the trade plans, guys. This is how you make money, and this is how you succeed. I've got guys in the room putting up numbers. There's guys in here with 10 accounts, and they're just steadily clocking because they're letting the trade show them. They're waiting for the actionable setups. And this is what it's all about. So this is fantastic down here. This was a great display. And I'm going to show you how you could use SPX as Confluence right now. So this was an incredible spot. We actually had this spot marked on SPX as usual. I can show you guys what it looked like before if you want to see it. Actually, you know what? Why not? Let's just go ahead and pull it up so that we know exactly what we're looking at. We don't want any fluff in here. Here you go. Here we go. Let's see. What level is this? There you go. 26. So right here. So I actually have a 1 hour level drawn here, but this is the 4 hour chart. And we had this all the way down to 69.24 on here. And this was our big flush below, pop above. So in this particular picture, I actually took, this is the 1 hour. You can see we came down, we held this 1 hour level. We got back above the 69.24 and we gassed it. This was perfect confluence with our ES chart. And even if you only looked at the 4 hour, this was still very sufficient, guys. This was the same thing as the ES getting back above the 46, which was plenty, right? There was a lot of meat left in this move. If you ended up getting in, just say at 50, right? And you took it up into our major 77, I mean, you're still talking about 27 points of meat, and you didn't even get in for the first, what is that, 12 and a half points? You're 12 and a half points late. I'm okay with being 12 and a half points late to lock in 27 points. That is the money shot. So I hope that you guys actually took amazing advantage of that. Now, that wasn't it, right? We just talked about the 77. What happened at the 77? Well, let's get into it. Here you go. The very first resistance spot that we had on the list, significant pivot, 69.77. This is our significant 4 hour weekly level. And what did I say in the context? Read it to me. What did I say? Can you see it? This will be the big pivot for today for us to move above or below. Right now, we are suppressed below this level. Again, this is at the time of writing. We were way down at the lows and we pumped pre-CPI, but that doesn't mean the levels still don't play, guys. This is the whole reason I put these trade plans out so that you can take advantage of this. And it didn't just play once for 20 points, actually 25 points. It played twice. It paid twice. If you didn't catch it the first time, you could have got it the second time. And I mean, I probably just counted, I don't know how many points, honestly, that you could have made today if you just stuck to the plans. Well over 100 points. And it's there. It's live and in charts. I just walked through it for you. And it was an amazing day for the room. It was an amazing day for the trade plans. And this was a fantastic example how you have to flow like water. I mean, again, I told you, I was a little confused this morning. I've been bearish for a long time. When I had that huge pump, I was like, maybe I should buy. But we know immediately, once you're above or below this level, you got to switch your bias. Don't get married to that. It's ridiculous to get married to a bias. It's like getting married to a position. You know how that works out. I mean, people that get married to altcoins, look at them. They're down like 95%. So some of these guys are super bag holders, and I don't want to see you get stuck holding the bag on ES because these futures are leveraged. So with that being said, this was an incredible day. Absolutely incredible. I give big props to Edgeful too for helping me really get into the short this morning, because when I saw that we had an 80% chance of coming down here and getting all the way to 69.79, and then potentially even filling the gap, I wasn't willing to start buying right away. I wanted to get short right? Because I was already kind of low key bearish, but I wanted to start buying once we got into support. And this gave me the opportunity to make money on the way down, even though I had, potentially been, you could just say, a little confused myself, thinking that we still needed to buy some support, even though it paid. I showed you guys 77 paid not only for the long, but the short. But this really helped me make some money right out of the gate. It gave me the confidence to hold my shorts, even when volatility was crazy. When I was short, I was like, damn, this shit is whipping around like crazy. I'm sure you saw that. So this is a powerful platform, you guys. If you haven't checked it out, check out my link in this post. They are incredible. It's $50 a month. I mean, that is 1 point to have this institutional grade data. It's absolutely unbelievable. So I also, for those of you guys who have not signed up for the trade plans yet, there is plenty of people in here. I know that you guys are not all signed up for these plans. So check it out. I still have my link up right now. It's 30 days free of the trade plans. You go in the landing page, put in your email, and I will get you activated. You can get these plans every day, every morning. I'll send them to you for free for the next 30 days. And you can make so much money. I've had guys doing these 30-day trade plans for free that have been funded and gotten payouts before they actually paid me for a subscription, which is incredible. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it right here. We're up. Our 30 minutes are up. I hope you guys have enjoyed how to use these trade plans, how even if your bias is confused, like mine, I'm willing to admit it, how we were able to shift based on being above or below certain areas and how we make it work to our benefit. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. And I will see you same time, same channel tomorrow. And for my trade plan subscribers, I'll see you at 8:30 in the morning. And you guys, tomorrow, we conquer the markets. Cheers and having a great night.